Man, I'm gonna go ahead and apologize right now for my beigeness, all my neutral tones in the background. I didn't think about it, man. It would have taken very much room up to pack a flag up and bring it here and just pin it in the back of this hotel room. But yeah, man, I'm coming live from California, San Francisco, looking over the bay out my window right now. So pretty nice. Pretty nice. It's nice out here. You know what else they have out here? They got really good football. I forgot about it. It's pretty cool.
The 49ers actually killing it right now. Brock Purdy completed over 90% of his passes, went 20 of 21 in the game when they played the Cardinals. So they playing great football, man. So and they deserve it. They deserve it.
They gave us the blueprint.
Yeah.
But can we follow it? I don't know. You got to stay tuned to find out. All right, well, we got a lot of technical stuff to work on. If I don't sound as crisp or clear as I normally am, the boom mic did not travel through TSA security with me. So I apologize about that. Also, that we still don't have the intro done. Our boy Ma works for Apple, and they dropped that new phone, man. It ruined everything. He ain't had time to get to it. But we're working on some new stuff for you. But, hey, welcome to Runnin Thru the Jungle. Preview Week 5. I'm your host, Brandon Herriott, a.k.a. Beat Dirt, with your host, Tim Lyons, and Justin Lacey. Lacey, what's up, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. It's another day in paradise here. It's hump day. For those that's listening here, we're recording this on a Wednesday. As far as your boy Mod, that needs to, and along in addition to his editing my name to get my little E in there, my last name, tell him he can give me a new iPhone for the weight on that. The iPhone. He can give me a new iPhone for the weight on that because I'm due for an upgrade, and I'm hearing a lot of good things about the newest iPhone, the 15 with the titanium, and it actually has a new USB ultrasound port for the charger port. So they've kind of gone away from just kind of centralizing to Apple only things. So good for them. But I need a new phone, Mike. That's what I want for the weight on my name mix up there.
I dig it. Hey Tim, we're finally on the same time zone. I haven't eaten dinner yet either. It's 5:04. Look at that. Who knew? How's things going with you, my man?
It's going pretty good. It's like Justin said, it's hump day. Friday's almost here, and football's almost here.
Yes. Well, hey, we thank you guys for tuning in, as always. Wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Google, here and there. If you check us out on YouTube, we appreciate you. Hit like, subscribe, notify that thumbs up, share us with your friends. Every week, I keep telling you, it keeps building. It builds a little more and a little more and a little more. I mean, the team isn't getting better, but our numbers are. So, man, now that I've had some time to digest things after the roaring reactions on Sunday, the main question to me is, how broken is this team? Like we've talked about different things and what they're doing right, not doing right, coaches, players. How broken is it? Do you think something that can be righted? Can we right the ship here? Is it something that's going to take a long term? Is it something that, a lot of people are pointing to Burrow's, calf injury? Is it something we can do between now and that getting right? to help right the ship. Tim, what are your thoughts?
First thought is I was listening to Joe Burrow today on his press conference, and he said he felt better than uh than he's felt, this last couple of weeks. They said that they're working on his mobility, so maybe we'll get a little bit of Joe popping in and out of the pocket, because he looked, actually, actually saw the practice video, and he was actually moving and popping back on that calf. As we know, arm strength is also backed up by hips, so in the push off of your back foot.
100%.
Yeah. So my biggest thought is this: is my concern is OC Brian Callahan made a statement yesterday or today. I can't remember when it was. He said that the offense needed to execute better. He said that you just don't roll out a whole new style of offense. So is Brian Callahan blaming the offense not executing well? Is it maybe trying to get a little bit of smoke off of his back, saying, well, if the offense would execute better, we would be winning games? Well, the way I look at it is this: is Joe Burrow right now. I'm sorry, let me put my glasses on because I can't see where the damn. Joe Burrow right now is 87 for 152 completion attempts. We're averaging 3.7 yards a carry. We've scored 4 touchdowns this year. So how broken is the Bengals offense? Is it when is somebody going to take accountability? Is it not? It's not just the offense. Yeah, it takes the quarterback to throw the football, but is offensive play calling? Should it be called by Zach Taylor, or should they let Brian Callahan call the offense?
They should pick somebody out of the 7th row and let them call it at this point.
I call a better offense for my Madden team than what the Bengals have these last 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mentioned this in our Roaring Reactions, but for those of you who didn't hear it, the thing that frustrated me is I went into the game thinking what looked like they thought as well that the short passing game and control that tempo and stuff was going to be the key to their success and be their kind of bread and butter, because I thought the run defense was more stout for the Titans. But it was obvious halfway through that first quarter, maybe after the first quarter, that the Titans had made a decision that they were going to pin their ears back and go 100-mile-an-hour at the quarterback with everybody they could. And when we ran the ball, we were getting 5-6 yards a clip.
Yep.
And we, for whatever reason, refused to make that in-game adjustment and run the ball a little bit more to keep them off balance. And Joe couldn't get out of the way. He could not scramble, and he was a sitting duck back there. And he took some big shots. We're lucky he didn't, nothing happened to him. He didn't get hurt further. But yeah, it's kind of frustrating watching it for me. Does that mean that I think we can't right the ship? No, I'm not willing. I think our biggest problem is our offense, and I'm not willing to write off Joe Burrow, injury or no injury. I think he can actually overcome some inept play calling. I think he can overcome some of those things, but it's gut check time, man. I really look like they need some of the leaders of this team to step up. Whether that's having difficult conversations with a coach, whether that's having different conversations with each other, whatever it is, they need to coach it up. Justin, what about you? How broken do you think this team is?
I had to revisit my notes from our show that we did before the Monday night game against the Rams. And I had stated on this very same podcast, just adjusting the episodes of don't sell your Bengals stock yet. And I also quote, just remove all your expectations of just getting the number 1 or the number 2 seed. adjust your mindset that this team had not yet figured it out, but they're getting close. That was my notes, and that was my advice to the fans, because we had some fans that were super extremists that, this is super concerning after the 0-2 start. And then you had other fans that was like, well, they started out 0-2 last year and they went on this run, so we can do it again this year. And then, I believe at the time, Tim and I were, and pretty much you too, Brandon, we were all kind of like in the middle. Like, we kind of understand both sides of it. But at the end of the day, we're done with the coach talk. That was my message to the fans 2 weeks ago. I'm not on that same train this time around. I'm just absolutely not on that train. I wouldn't even call it panic. It's just, for me personally, and I hope they prove me wrong, but I've stuck a fork in the team this season for the time being, because let's talk about the ineptitude on offense. That's what's broken right now for the Cincinnati Bengals. And the stuff that I'm just hearing that's oozing out of locker rooms from the sound bites and from the press, from the team, and from the coaches, from the player, I'm just not feeling the vibe like they found that elixir like they did last year, even the year before, to where they were just operating with this exuberant amount of confidence like they did the last 2 years. This year, they feel like that they coming into the season entitled, that we did it the last 2 seasons. We are entitled to make it to the AFC Championship game, because we should have actually been the team to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl last year. So now we are entitled to assume that we can kind of look beyond that and then foresee that happening again. No, and I'm not saying that that's exactly what they're doing or what they're saying, but that's the actions and the body language that I tend to think when I'm watching them this season. They're operating with the mind frame of eventually it's going to just magically work itself out. Just keep doing what you're doing, and it's showing up on the field. That very first drive against the Tennessee Titans, I thought that just showed me like, oh, they actually got some creativeness beyond this. Now, you can take it however you may with scripted plays or anything like that to the opening sequence of the first drive of a game. But it showed me that, okay, I was correct on assuming that they're going to just wipe the floor with this Titans team. I would have loved for them to go for it on 4th down and get punched that bad boy in the end zone, and they ended up settling for 3. But after that, you just immediately saw the regression that all they were going to do is do the exact same thing like they did against the last 3 opponents, and it just really didn't muster up anything offensively for real. And the Titans, meanwhile, almost was like, all right, we saw their opening scripted drive. Now let's see what they're going to be about, and then just stick to the game plan that we know they're probably going to do, which is the exact same game plan in the formula that Cleveland did against us week 1. And that was, as you mentioned, pin your ears back and rush the passer, because we know Joe Burrow is limited in terms of his mobility.
Not getting off that spot.
And then get a nice little sustainable lead, because we know they're going to be limited and really can't pass the ball right now. So it's almost like until they prove it, this is what the game plan is going to be. Now, I do think that they can right the ship in terms of who they have on the team. Obviously, we know Joe Burrow. I'm no longer giving the excuse when it comes to the calf. I'm done with that. There are other quarterbacks, including Joe Burrow in years past, that has played through injury and still performed better. This is just flat out unacceptable. And he even knows that. I don't have to tell him that to his face. I'm sure he is way harder on himself than any fan or any hater probably is. Yeah. He ain't caring about that. But I'm not giving them that excuse, because I know what he's capable of and I've seen it. That's also why I'm like, okay, I know they can right the ship at some point, but at this point, man, we got to see it. So, no, I'm not willing to buy no more stock on this team for this season. They have disappointed me enough already. But at the end of the day, Joe Burrow's an elite quarterback. They got elite weapons. Jamar Chase, presumably, we already know. I do feel like that they can still right the ship at some point, maybe even this weekend. But I'm still not going to be like, oh, we're the Bengals, we're back, if that were to happen. I got to see it for consecutive strings of wins in a row before I can be like, okay, now they've gotten themselves back on track and they're ready to kind of compete moving forward now.
Yeah. I had also down here most frustrating thing in my notes now that we've digested this past week. And I think we're all saying it. I think we're all on the offense has been the most frustrating thing, without a doubt, and maybe a little bit of the run defense here and there, but for the most part, it's just been the offense has been putrid. Now, when you say don't sell your stock or whatever, I dabble with stocks. If you own 100 shares of the Bengals right now, there's only one of two things that you can do. You can either sell it, short the stock, or you can buy more of it while it's low and wait for it to come back up. Because I do believe it's going to come back up. Now, are they going to ride it fast enough to save this season and get back into the playoffs? I don't know. I said going into this, I thought we were poised to have a great year, but I also had concern. No one's ever won the AFC North 3 times in a row. So it's sticky, right? But they got to right that ship now. We also touched on coach speak, and we touched on it in the roaring reactions. But this week, Coach Taylor talked about the comments that we heard from Jamar Chase in the interview post game. The clip that everybody takes out of it is "I'm always effing open," right? Because that makes headlines. That's fun. But if you listen to that whole 2.5-minute rant that he goes on, it's not that clip, right? It was. I thought it was very astute of him. Coach Taylor called it. Said he showed great leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Said he loved his passion, and the statement he was fine with, especially in its whole totality. Tim, what do you think of Jamar's take and statements in the interview, and what do you take with Coach Taylor's reaction to it?
Jamar's statement, I don't really care that he said it. It's fact. He is open. And I guess if we look at every single play, we'll see if it's true or false. But it's Jamar Chase. He's going to either be open or he's not, and he probably is open a lot. But I'm happy to see him make that statement. It shows that he is very passionate about the sport, about what his job is. Him being a leader in the locker room, that's what you expect from these guys that have been playing ball. Even if it's been a couple years or 10 years or 20 years, whatever, you've been playing or the job that you're at. I love that Jamar Chase said it. I know Taylor said that, it was outstanding statement that he made. It showed true leadership in the locker room. And, for the coach to say that, all of us should think that should be all of our thoughts of, what, at least somebody in that locker room is saying, what, yeah, I'm open, or T's open, or, Mixon can run the ball for, 3.5 yards a carry or 5 yards a carry, whatever it is. Somebody's actually making a statement instead of us getting these blanket statements from the coaches or from Joe Burrow going, oh, well, we just got to execute better than next week. We got to practice harder. That's the same BS we've been hearing for the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
It's about time Jamar Chase made that statement.
Yeah, and what the other thing that you don't hear in the statement is that he was baited into making that statement. When he said, well, what do they got to do to scheme you open to get you more touches? And he says, I'm always effing open. You know what I mean? And he should feel that way. He's Jamar Chase. Mm-hmm. This is a guy that Joe Burrow feels the same way about him because Joe Burrow said, screw it. Jamar Chase down there somewhere. I think they have that same feeling. Justin, what do you think about it?
For starters, I'll just say this. I only just added a couple things to what Tim said because he pretty much just nailed it on the head of the coffin. I have absolutely no problem with Jamar's comments, and I don't care if it's the excerpt that they took there to create a headline. Because at this point, people kind of are already – fans are really savvy about how the media operates and stuff like that to kind of get clickbait material. We kind of know that nowadays. So, there was nothing wrong. If I was in his shoes, I wouldn't say like, hey, going forward. So no, I would have said the same thing, probably worse, honestly. So I'm with him. And another thing I'll just add to it is this, and then we can move on to the next topic. Jamar Chase is 0 touchdown receptions in the end zone. He has 0. And we're 4 weeks in the season. He has a right to be angry. He has a right to be frustrated. He has a right to be pissed off. Hell, I'm pissed off for him. This dude also, and I get it, we're not in, we talk about NFL fantasy a lot of the times, more specifically on this show, if you listen to our preseason talks and stuff. Jamar Chase, for most of people's fantasy drafts, was either the number 1 or the number 2 overall pick in most fantasy leagues. And he has disappointed most fantasy owners who has Jamar Chase, and it's not his fault. So with that being said, that should already tell you the nucleus of what he is and what he means to this team is that he is one of the premier wide receivers, top 5 wide receivers, no doubt about it, and he can't even get in the end zone. And that's upsetting for him, and it's upsetting for the fans, and it's upsetting for the team, and it's upsetting for his quarterback, the coaching staff, the organization, because at the end of the day, we know that domino is going to fall where he's got to get his paycheck, and he's going to be among the highest paid receivers in the league. And this is the result right now after 4 weeks. Yeah, I would be pissed off too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, the Bengals are 1-3, and so am I because they're not giving the ball to Jamar Chase. I got him on my fantasy team. Let's go. All right.
You just proved my point.
With that said, those of you on YouTube, we'll be back in 3 seconds. Those of you listen to us on podcast, we're about to pay some bills. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back to Runnin Thru the Jungle. I'm your host, Brandon Herriott, with your hosts, Justin Lacey and Tim Lyons. All right. We've got it off our chest. We feel a little bit better. That's behind us. We've got the Arizona Cardinals coming into town. They've looked better than we thought they would. Josh Dobson right now is completing 20% more passes than Joe Burrow. Who'd have thunk that going into this game? But concerns. What's your biggest concern about the matchup going into this week? I'll throw it back to you, Justin. What are your thoughts?
So the number one thought is that originally people thought that this team was going to be tanking for the number 1 overall pick before the season started. And this team is coming out, playing with true heart and true character. John Gannon is not letting them quit. I know their preseason game against the 49ers, the score was 35-16. But if you actually listen to our Cut to the Chase podcast with our very own Chase Younts, him and I discussed, the breakdown of that in the context of that game, whereas that score was very misleading. The Arizona Cardinals really did dominate a lot of. I think I got muted for a second. Sorry about that. My overall concern for this team is that the Bengals, if they are going to be able to come in there and win this game, they got it. So my number one concern about this Arizona Cardinals team is that I think that the Bengals may be walking into a trap, like a real big time trap door, because the Bengals are a team that we used to be like, we'll walk in your trap, take over your trap kind of ordeal. But this Arizona Cardinals team is playing feisty. They're playing some feisty football right now, whereas before people had thought that this was going to be the team that's going to be the team that get the number 1 overall pick, for the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, and they're not playing like it. They sort of remind me of the 2019 Miami Dolphins, and everybody was talking about the tank for Tua brigade, but Brian Flores wouldn't allow them to tank because he still wanted to win. Well, the similar thing is happening in Arizona. When I look back at their game from when they played last week against the 49ers, sure, the score may have indicated that the 49ers just whooped their ass. 35-16 was the exact score. But then I broke down every single drive, and I saw that really that score was misleading for real. And Arizona really dominated a lot of the time of possession and went on long sustaining drives and actually got some points on the board. They had some misfires. It was just unfortunate that every time the 49ers touched the ball, they just ended up scoring like it was nothing. So
Mhm.
this Cardinals team is really feisty. It's not just that game. They've been doing this all season. They also just upset the Dallas Cowboys the week before. That same Dallas Cowboys team that both you and me, B. Dirt, have selected as this is going to be one of the best defenses in fantasy football, and they are showing it. They went into Dallas and upset them and pulled off a really big convincing win. So this by no means is a game that the Bengals need to say is our get right game. The Arizona Cardinals are probably looking at it as like, dude, we smelling blood in the water. And we're going to put them out of their misery. We're going to put them out of their misery because they already just got thumped 27-3 to a mediocre to a low bit below average Titans team. Dude, we got offensive. We got some little bit of some tools ourselves to do that kind of damage, especially if Burrow's still mobility is limited. Come on now. That's my main concern about this Cardinals game for me personally. So I still think the Bengals can win, but they gotta gut check themselves and realize that this is not a walk in the park game like we all thought it was.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm ever going to use the phrase "get right" game again. This just keeps backfiring in my face, so I'm going to avoid that. I've had a hell of a year of just every time I've said something about this team, the opposite immediately happens. From the Burrow injury,
Mm-hmm.
the Trey Hendrickson extension, get right game, whatever I say, they just do the opposite. So I think for those of you that watch me Friday nights on the Homies podcast over in Steel Curtain Network, I'm probably going to take the Cardinals. Just some reverse psychology, just
Yes.
anything. At this point, I'm drawing for straws. Tim, what's your biggest concern going into this game with the Arizona Cardinals?
Arizona has led 3 out of the 4 games they've played. They beat Dallas. That's their only win is against Dallas. My biggest concern is that Arizona is 6th or 7th in rushing in the NFL. Our defense isn't playing very, very good at all against the run. Also, with Josh Dobbs and their wide receivers, he's actually throwing the ball fairly well. I think they're averaging 203 yards passing and 100, I think 100, like I said, 143 yards a game in rushing. Even though everybody counted Arizona out at the very beginning because Kyler Murray, who knows when he's going to be back. They had Colt McCoy or whoever the hell it was as his quarterback, and then they brought Josh Dobbs in. Josh Dobbs is actually playing fairly well. They got Connor. He's running the ball really. I think he's averaging 50 plus yards a game. My concern is our rush defense. Are we going to be able to if we have a fairly well pass defense? Our rush defense is what concerns me because Arizona likes to run the ball. And then also with Joe Burrow, is Arizona going to be blitzing 6 or 7? Are they taking notes from the Titans in Cleveland? Saying put pressure on him. He ain't going nowhere. So those are my major concerns. Is Arizona, they ain't no chumps. I'm going to say they're not no chumps, but I did read that they are 7th to last in defense. They've allowed over 300 and some yards per game in defense.
Yeah, they're 25th, I think, ranked defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Justin.
Tim, I just wanted to add on something too, because I do want to give up the defense. Now they do deserve some blame, but for me personally, they deserve the least amount of blame. I think I can help antiquate that the rush defense against the run so far this year. I just think that that's just more predicated how bad the offense are. Teams are really sort of patient. Like if you watch that Titans game, remember, man, they took a long time to get 3 points on the board on
Yeah.
their first drive. That gave me a testament, man. This defense make them go hard on the other side of the ball for them. Like they gotta earn it. And also it's growing pains, man, to new guys whether if it's on the front line or the back end. It's growing pains defensively. We kind of knew that and expecting that going into the season. And they're still the better team. They're still the better side of the ball when it comes to this team. I don't question the Bengals' run defense per se, but they not let off the hook. But I mentioned this on the Cut to the Chase pod with Chase Youngs yesterday when him and I recorded, is that I think they're starting to lose that mental toughness edge, like we saw last year, 2 years ago. They're starting to lose that edge a little bit. It's not because what was very alarming to me on the defensive side of the ball was just the missed tackles. Logan Wilson read a screenplay that was just perfect. He read it perfectly. The check down to Tajay Spears that Ryan Tannehill threw, and it would have been like a 1 or 2 yard loss. But then Wilson missed the tackle, and it ended up being a large gain. I think he may have gotten a first down in that play. That's the kind of stuff that I feel like that the defense is missing. Like, it's not like they can't get their assignments right. They can get in this gap zones and whatnot. It's just discipline to just make the play. You can make the play. I just think that's probably is the issue for me with the defense side. They kind of give them a somewhat of a little bit of pass. They still get blamed, but not as much as to blame the offense. I just feel like the offense ain't did them no kind of favors at all this season.
I can see your point there.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's all the defense's fault because, as we know, if a team sits on the field for 43 freaking minutes out of a 1 hour game, the defense is going to be tired as hell. I know on Sunday when we played against the Titans, I believe they missed 21 tackles because they were tired as hell. And I get that. And I get that. I get that. But my concern though is if we are not getting minutes with the ball on the drives in the offense, is our defense going to get a little tired? Because, this is 4 weeks of football, and our defense is spending a lot of time on the field. It don't matter if you're a pro athlete or not, you're going to get tired. And with the Arizona's run game is what I am majorly concerned about.
Yeah, so I got to be honest with you. My notes right here, 100% agree with you, Tim. And to shine a little bit more stats on this that you were talking about, Bengals have the second worst run defense in the league. They give up second most yards, 157 yards a game on a 5.1 per carry average. James Conner for the year, averaging 5.1 a carry. And he's averaging about 80 yards a game. That's where I get concerned because I think, watching them last week, their game was obviously to go, for San Francisco was take the air out of the ball. They had 15 play drive. They had 16 play drive. They're trying to do that. And I think they're going to try and do the same thing to us while we're trying to get right. And then all of a sudden, when they start doing those kind of things, if they can control the ball and can run it that way, it's going to put that much more pressure on our offense to perform when they do have the ball. I think that's what we need to avoid right now. They need to go play with reckless abandon. I would, if I was the offense, you're going against a 25th ranked defense. I can't name guys in their secondary. I would go no huddle. Yeah. I'd go no huddle. Like, let's just play with some speed. I get they're trying to get Burrow under and get his legs underneath him or whatever. Let's just play with some urgency. When we do that, we look good. Let's do it. Let's run the ball, play with some urgency, get to the line of scrimmage and go. I don't know if there's an issue with maybe conditioning with some of our offensive linemen or what, but I think we should play with a little more urgency.
Hell yeah, we should.
That leads me into this. I just gave you kind of what do I think we can take advantage of? There it is. Their defense is a little bit soft. What do you guys think that we can take advantage of, Justin?
I'll go right back to the comment that you just made about no huddle. It's really shocking how bad that they have not done the no huddle offense through the first 4 weeks of the season. They did it when it was too late, and it was like the Ravens game more specifically. They now all of a sudden try to go up tempo on their final drive of the game when it's like, why didn't you have this urgency coming out of the first half? Well, to kind of keep going a bit. That's very problematic to me.
You know what else happens when they go up tempo? Burrow calls some of those plays.
Yes, he does. And that's the way that he's able to adjust himself on the fly instead of just always huddling up, moving such a slow race. It makes me so angry when it's like hurry up. I never had this thought before when I was watching Burrow and this Bengals offense in the last couple of years. But this season, it's just very shocking to me that they have not done it. And you need to do it to neutralize some of this pass rush that's been very vicious on them. You need to do that to stop them from feeling like that they got a mental edge over you on that defensive side of the ball. And on top of that, it shows that you can get your stuff seatbelt locked in before they can try to come over and lock it in for you. That's how I feel, man. I think that's the number one thing that I feel like they should be absolutely be able to take advantage of. Because a team like the Arizona Cardinals, that's right now, they're young, they're young and dumb. I'll use that phrase. They're young and dumb. They're playing with a little bit of high energy, but they're super inexperienced right now. They're still not knowing how to win games outside of just playing with good fight. What tends to happen with those teams is that when they get a little bit overconfident, they crash and burn really hard. See the Carolina Panthers game that we played against them last year. We came off that horrible Monday night game against Cleveland. We lost our starting cornerback, Cheeto. And the Carolina Panthers just had a nice outing against the 49ers. I can't remember who they played, but they had a nice game. And then they smelled blood in the water, and they was thinking, ooh, we get to go play up to Cincinnati, play the wounded tiger. And then they got destroyed. And how did the Bengals beat them? By running the ball down their throats. And it was just some of the most beautiful, prolific, fast-paced offense that I've seen from that team from last year. They got to sort of do that this time around. And I think the Cardinals are the perfect team to do that against if I'm the Bengals.
Tim, what do you think is going to be our advantage that we can get in this game? Where do you see an opportunity for us to get the W possibly?
Run the damn ball.
Yes. This is 3
for those that's watching on YouTube. For those that's watching on YouTube and seeing this, you should have seen the smirk on Tim's face.
RTDB.
So I'm going to say this. The reason why I'm saying this is Arizona is allowing 4.4 yards a carry. They've allowed 7 rushing touchdowns this year so far. 7. If Joe cannot drop back, cannot get passes off, cannot get out of his own way because of his calf, run the damn ball. Joe Mixon, I'm waiting for Joe Mixon to go, you know what? Hand me the effing ball because I'm going to get yards. I'm waiting for him to make this comment because 13 yards a carry the first game, 13 rushing attempts the first game, 13 rushing attempts the second game. I can't remember. I think it was 12 or 13 against the Rams, 14 rushing attempts last week. Give him the damn ball. Yeah, he took a pay cut because he believed in the Bengals. And I'm going to stay. You know what? I'm going to fight for Joe Mixon until they give him the damn ball and let him run for 100+ yards, 2 touchdowns, or even throwing him the football. Because he's actually having a very good season for as little as we're doing. I believe Joe Mixon. Get creative. Get creative. I know you guys want to sit in shotgun formations. That's fine. Put a damn wide receiver in motion. Put a tight end in motion. Do whatever. Get creative with the shotgun formations or go into the pistols. There's a lot of pistol formations out there. A lot of pistol formations. I've seen them. Just because you're sitting in pistol formation, it's a hybrid of, not under center, but you're 5 yards back behind your center and Mixon's behind you. Get creative with those. And I know I'm beating a dead horse, but run the damn ball. That's what I want to see. Run the damn ball. And then it's going to open up everything else for us. If Joe is being truthful with us and saying, you know what, I'm feeling better, I'm feeling a little bit more mobile. If that's the case, running the damn ball. It's going to give Joe a chance to roll out, play actions, all kinds of different stuff. But Joe Mixon needs to get fed the football. I don't care who you are.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think you're halfway into this next section, so I'm just going to run it right back to you.
Yes.
Let's go ahead. Let's hear your game ball predictions and your game score prediction. Who's going to get your offense and defensive game balls, and what's the score going to be?
Do it.
Well, you know what's
Do it,
funny
Tim.
is my game ball prediction is Joe Mixon. Joe
That's what
Mixon's
I'm
going to
talking
get the.
about.
I don't care. I don't care if he only runs the ball 14 times today or on Sunday in Arizona and ends up having 60 yards, 70 yards rushing, or if he gets 4 or 5 receptions for 60 yards. Joe Mixon is my offensive game ball. Defensive game ball, I'm kind of in a struggle here because Dax Hill's been playing great football, even with the loss against the Titans last week. We all picked Dax Hill last week, if I remember correctly, didn't we?
I think he got it. I mean, he got a pick.
And he all exactly
looked good.
But my homeboy Hubbard, I'm like going, man, is he going to get 2 sacks? He's going to get some tackles for losses, But unfortunately, I'm going with Dax Hill again because Dax Hill is a future Pro Bowler. He might be. You never know. He might sneak into the Pro Bowl this year, but next year more than likely. But I'm gonna say Dax Hill. My prediction for the game is going to be 27-24 Bengals. I'm gonna say we're going to win by a field goal. I don't think we're going to blow them out. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be a scrappy, must-win. This is a must-win for us. These next 13 games is a must-win for us. So don't anybody ever ask me that question. Is this game a must-win? All these next 13 weeks, well, I'm sorry, 14 weeks, but 13 games is a must-win for the Bengals. Yeah. But I'm going to say 27-24 Cincinnati.
If you had said 27-24 for this game going into the season, it would have been a grave disappointment. Right now, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But Justin, what do you got? Offensive and defensive game balls and game prediction.
Man, I'm going to try to end this on a positive note because I know when we started this episode, I was just kind of just saying, stick a fork in us, we're done. That doesn't mean I'm saying that we're not going to win the game the rest of the season. But I want to kind of jump on the same train that you're on, Tim, because I absolutely agree with you. This is all the makings for a Joe Mixon game to put the team on his back for the time being until the rest of the team gets right. And he is going to be my game ball prediction for the offensive side of the ball. Defense, hey, I picked Dax Hill last week. I'm going to do it again this week. He does give me some Buda Baker-like qualities, and I really do enjoy that when I watch him play. It's crazy because Buda Baker plays for the Cardinals, and I don't know if he's even going to be on the field on Sunday or if he's out for the season, whatever the case is, situation. I know it's just been ugly for him there. As far as score prediction goes, man, I don't even know. I'm going to still predict a low-scoring game until the Bengals prove that they get it right offensively. And that, sorry, kind of a little burp there. And that, for me, is going to be 17-13 Bengals. I do not think they cover the spread. 4.5-point favorites right now, leaning towards the Bengals. That's where I'm going to go for now. They get 2 ugly, grinded out touchdowns. The Cardinals are going to probably find a way of struggling offensively there because the Bengals defense, for all this being said about, how they performed, they've kind of kept this team afloat throughout the 4 weeks, regardless of how they looked on the stat sheet, for real. I'm watching just with my eyes, and I know what I'm seeing from this pass rushing unit. DJ Reader's still there. He can clog up the middle. He's made some nice hits on some of these guys here. And like we mentioned, Dax Hill, he's kind of growing into this big-time player on the back end. I don't trust the corners still yet, but they're young. They got to grow. And Cheeto still got to come back from his injury. So I'm with the same predictions as far as the game ball goes as Tim. Joe Mixon on offense, Dax Hill on defense. But my score prediction, to sum it up for me, 17-13 Bengals. Get out of there with a win. You need it. We're desperate at this point.
I will tell you this. The official gambling site of the Fans First Sport Network, MyBookie. I use their app. If you haven't checked it out, you should. It's pretty sweet. 270 prop bets on most of these games. Whew, it's a lot of juice. But they got us at -3 right now. A 3 point.
The line went down. The line went down.
And I put it on pay dirt on my stay away from it. Avoid the game. Don't bet it. There's nothing that, like, I like to look for things that I know I can hang my hat on. You know, like this defense is going to show up. This offense is going to show up. They're going to do this well. They're going to do that well. I don't know what the hell we're going to do. I don't know what the hell Arizona's going to do. I'm out. I'm not touching this game with a 10-foot pole. No,
I don't blame you.
no,
I don't blame you at all.
Thank you.
So before you give your prediction, so it opened up at 4.5, and now it's at 3 for the Bengals because they already know people are going to bet the under for the Cardinals and bet the Cardinals to cover, and that's probably why that line is moved. So I'm with you. I'm staying away from this game.
So I'm not giving the clean sweep this week. I'm not giving it to anybody, and it's not because I'm zigging instead of zagging on this one. I didn't have either one of those names on this piece of paper. My offensive game ball goes to squeaky wheel gets the oil. Jamar Chase going to get 8 for 115 and a touchdown. We're going to feed him. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a couple of jet sweeps as well and gets some rushing yards. So I like Jamar Chase for my offensive game ball. My defensive game ball, and this guy's been pretty close to some turnovers, some picks, caused fumbles, play a pretty good ball, hasn't quite got that full game in yet. He came close when you took him last time, Justin, but I'm going to go Jermaine Pratt. I think with their tendency to want to run the ball, control that clock, I think Pratt's going to have to be big and stepping up and getting in those holes and filling those gaps and making tackles. I think he gets double-digit tackles, and I think he causes a fumble. James Conner has had a tendency to fumble the ball from time to time. It was an issue when he was in Pittsburgh. So I'm gonna say a caused fumble, 2 tackles for loss, and double-digit tackles. So those are my game balls. And in this addition to how could this season get any worse, my score prediction is 20-20 tie game.
Oh, goodness.
So that is my score prediction.
Oh, my gosh, I can really see that. And we're just like, oh, my gosh, can this really get any uglier?
And listen, the only reason that I'm picking it is so if it does happen, I laugh about it instead of cry. That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Just shut the show off. We're done.
Just come on, Bengals, man. Get it together. Please go get us this win. Please hit like, subscribe, thumbs up, share with your friends. Cut this clip out and share it with whoever you want to. 20-20 tie. Please be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Hoo day.